Hi everyone, thank you for giving me the opportunity to spotlight a project that I love, La Machinerie. I'm neither the creator nor any important part of that project, but during a short period of my life I was a small Jill in that machine. So La Machinerie is both a space and an association, which combine diverse projects under one single entity. I always wanted to document this project, so here in a way that's a moment to give the spotlight on it, and I hope you'll enjoy it. But just let me give you some more context. During my first year of bachelor degree, I studied graphic design in a medium-sized city called Amiens. So there I met a girl, and for getting a hurt, I tried to build a three-dimensional calendar. Please don't ask me why. But anyway, a friend of me told me about a place called the fablab. He promoted it as a magic place where you can build everything. So I imagined something like that. In my head, that was everything I could imagine for building stuff. But in the end, I found something much more sober, but also more friendly. That was a kind of MVP fablab. In the end, I didn't get the heart of that girl, but I discovered a very cool project and I became a maker. I came back at La Machinerie a few years later, and that was not a prototype fablab anymore. It came to another location, became a really impactful association. It was a real ecosystem around that project, so much that this year the association received the prize for social innovation from the French Minister of Economy. So I had the opportunity to join that association for a small year called of volunteering called Service Civic in French, and my role was to be a kind of fab manager. But just to give you a bit more context about how La Machinerie works, because that can be a bit blur sometimes. We have the Fab Lab where we have all the students or makers, doers who are coming to share skills and materials. We have the co-working again, also which add an extra year of skills and also which is part of, let's say, the life of the Fab Lab, and an incubator for social entrepreneurship, so-called starter. And then all of these projects gave the freedom to La Machinerie to develop internal projects in order to impact the community. That can be schools, of course, but also unemployed people or people from disadvantaged neighborhood. We had a partners company for providing some material for cheap, and of course, how that works for making the cash flow. We have, of course, money from the co-workers, also a mix of partners, both public and private, which help the machinery to be sustainable, and clients for whom La Machinerie provides services, like, for example, prototyping project. So, La Machinerie is not the first Fab Lab which is developing this kind of mix of skills, this mix of cash flow. But what they really differentiate is how they try to impact the society. They have a social driven mission. So of course that's about developing and the exchange in the community that makes people meet when they usually don't meet. Build an economy more human and also more united, of course with the project of Starter, but several other initiatives that we will explore later. Bring back the tools in the hand of citizens with a workshop for free or very cheap, and finally develop alternative way of work. And here I'm thinking also about the Fab Lab, but others project initiated within La Machinerie. Like for example, this temporary shop that can be used by a local producer if they want to meet their their consumer when they work on internet. So for 1 week, they can come and experiment. But just to have a more vivid idea of what that means, I'm gonna present you 3 successful projects that was that were initiated as part of La Machinerie. Because of course that's why we have this organizational structure. It's a way to be able to develop projects internally, like the partnership with the School of the Second Chance in France, or even uh, the project Fab School. The idea is to help youth who left school a bit early or went to jail at young age, and to get back to some learn some other skills that they can use in practice directly, so they can learn very various skills like the technique of the fablab, but also woodworking or even basic programming. And in the end, they get in contact with the network of La Machinerie that can be local craftsmen or entrepreneurs. The co-working is a great way to federate a community and also injecting external people in it. It created a form of family, and I believe that was the strength of La Machinerie at that time. My favorite example of a successful coworker who truly benefited from La Machinerie is Jean-Christophe on the picture. He created a company called Sigo uh, in the in the field of healthcare, and he aims to build product for solving problematic related to handicap or elderly. So he discovered La Machinerie through a 3D printing workshop, and at that moment, that was the occasion to learn about the co-working. So he integrated the co-working, and when he had to build a wagon, for example, for simulate the experience of travel for people who has Alzheimer. He benefited again from the network. A graphic designer, a videoist, a developer for some part of the website, or even the advice of an architect. And when he wanted to develop his project further, to become more independent, he integrated the project starter. And here again, he got in contact with hospitals, and he got also the help of La Machinerie for prototyping, for example, the koala that we see on that pictures, uh, which is a robot koala. And finally, a third successful project, and probably my favorite, that's the project of Melisande, picture on the left. She wanted to reduce the digital gap between elderly and the new technologies. So she organized some workshop, which was hosted by La Machinerie for free. So that was a way for her to start her project easily and also benefit from a public. When she wanted to go out, to also her further, she integrated Starter, and she developed her project further, became a standalone association, and now she's teaching for hundreds of older people in the region of Amiens in several cities. So what I think is impressive and cool about that project that it was funded mostly by engineers. Not only, but mostly engineers. And that's why I believe they did great job, because they didn't build another fab lab for techies only. They built an heterogeneous community around them, and they wanted to create a social value, and they did it. They did it, and they get into contact with industries and the people. A few years ago, they moved to a bigger location, which was actually the symbol of the growth. and it's still going on. The fact of moving to a bigger place actually changed a bit the way they worked, because that means changing a bit the cash flows, changing a bit also the teams. That means working with more people, and so maybe the feeling of family is not as strong as before, but the project is still going on. And actually, more recently, during the Corona crisis, they built a lot of masks for the community and for hospitals. But if I have to summarize what I think is the success of this project, it's not only the mission, but especially the people who are there. Everyone, every single one had this social fiber in the DNA. They wanted to do something better, to change the way they worked, to help people to change the way they do, and that's, I think, the real strength of that project. And another important point to mention that it was in Amiens, a medium-sized city. I could not imagine something like that, something so humane in Paris, where we cannot federate as easily people and be in direct contact with everyone. Also, the size of the project itself was still still at a correct size, and that helped them to be much more stronger and to talk to people directly. I hope that this project can inspire you and give you some perspective, especially in that moment when we think about changing priorities for the next years. I hope it's good inspiration for doing tech for goods. Thank you.
So, Vincent, I just wondering any feedback from the participants in these La Machineries, especially from the elderly and also from the students in the School of the Second Chance. What do they say about these initiatives, and how did they get benefits from this?
Yeah, I think for them that was a way to explore different stuff. I think for everyone who come in La Machinerie, that's a bit a special a special place. I mean, not only because that's hard to that's not direct to understand. That's a quite unique place, at least in that city of Amiens. So everyone is a bit surprised or a bit curious when they arrive there. So yeah, I think for all of them that was some part of surprise, some part of also a way to do it. Honestly, not all of them continue doing it. In the, for example, in the School of Second Chance, that was I think less than half that continue in it doing this project. But I guess for all the part who continue and find a job after that, that's great success. And in the case of this project, for more all the people in the project of old school, I would say that's actually more a better success, because they were quite let's say that high fidelity to the project. They came quite often to the workshops. So yeah, in that sense, that for us that was very positive experience, I would say.
Good. While I saw a question from the audience and from Paul. Paul, could you unmute yourself and ask the question loud in your own words?
So I was wondering, how do you find your clients?
Actually, that's where the concept of La Machine is interesting, that they don't seek for them. In a way, the project of La Machine is self-promoted. So we heard about La Machinerie in the news, or maybe just in contact, or just for example, as simply as the fact that they see that there is a fablab in Amiens, the entrepreneurs or the company can come and say, okay, I would like to use this machine, can I work with that? And then that's already a client. So they didn't really dedicate people to seek for clients.
And does that then cover your funding, or do you get other money from, say, institutions, or how does it work?
Excuse me?
Does that cover all the funding that you get, or how does this work? Do you get the money from clients? Do you get it from institutions? How is this operating?
I would say, yeah, only these three: the rent, the partners, and the clients. I think that's the only way they get money. At least what they say officially. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
So if there's, let me take the second chance. And also, Vincent, what's your vision for this lab machinery? Let's say in 3 years, how would you expect it to grow?
Okay, but to be totally honest, I think that yeah, La Machinerie changed a bit direction since they changed location. So yeah, I think they will work more with let's say they will experiment a bit less, but work with more confident stakeholders. I think they will work much more with schools. That's something that works well, and that's kind of let's say sustainable, and that's a stable partner. And also work a bit more with clients. At least that's the direction it's taking. I heard that maybe the Fab Lab will close or will be reduced because of the money, of course. But yeah, I think that will be a different project in the future, but just more conventional and maybe a bit more how do you say touching a more general public.
Do you have any link for this project online? So maybe we can see this project just from different locations, just to increase its impact.
Okay, good idea.
Maybe for later.
Okay.
Let's wrap up for Vincent's representation for now. Later on, we can have an open discussion, and feel free to ask your questions. So let's go to our second presentation by Mei and Yating. It's gonna be on the topic of coronavirus, and they would share their views on the technical solutions adopted by the mainland China, and see any inspiration could be borrowed here. So let's hand over our stage to Yating and Mei. Please start with a short introduction of yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, cool. Thank you, Jiayao. So I'm Mei. I'm from the track HCID. Currently work as a product designer at BCG Digital Ventures in Berlin. So we do incubators, and we build products, build startups. Yeah, today I'd like to give a presentation together with Yating. Yeah. You just introduce yourself?
Okay, sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm Yating. Currently, I'm a UX designer working in a startup in Berlin as well. And I graduated from Table Berlin and University UPS in the track of HCID. So let's hand it over to Xuemei and start our presentation.
Cool, thank you. So before I start, I just want to quickly ask everyone, what's your battery level today? Tuesday after work? You can just type it in the comment in the chat.
Out of what?
Out of 100%. Like I'm 10% now.
Maybe I'm 11.
Would you like just shout out or just type in the chat?
Cool. Some people say it's 25, 50.
50%. Wow.
Oh,
60%. Did you work today? 50% indeed. meant I worked hard during the day. I didn't even touch the phone. No, not your phone battery. I mean your energy level.
Sounds right. Which one is your time zone? You just woke up.
Just joking. Just joking.
Cool. Thank you for response. Sorry, I cut someone.
Important. Nothing important. Just increasing the level 10%.
Okay.
Others level.
Yeah, like basically, I'm really low energy now. I spend like 8 hours in Zoom, and my lunch is also in Zoom. I had like a virtual lunch with my team. It's just a crazy special period of time. So with my 10% energy level, I just want to share this talk. It's more like a really casual chat today. We just want to share our experience and interesting example we see during this coronavirus stage at the time. Also, maybe I just share my slides first. Cool. You can see my crazy web browser with a lot of tab. Can you see it? Yes?
Not yet.
You should see it, no? Okay, I can try again.
Yeah.
Yes, we could see the slides and lots of tabs open.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I just stopped. There's a lag. Is it working now?
Yes, we can see the slides.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's good.
One small comment that might help to make things faster. You can share specifically that tab, so it will make your computer much faster as experience.
Oh, thanks. Okay, let me try the third time. Sorry, I'm just not used to, like, I'm person in living in Zoom. Like, this is new for me.
Yeah, Zoom is way easier.
Yeah, I like the interactions in Zoom more as well.
This is like so advanced for me.
We are a group of EIT digital experts. How to optimize.
Come on, PowerPoint.
Okay. It only supports you if you open the slides and the call in the same Chrome tab. It works, but I have them in different tab anyway. It works now, right?
Yep.
I just do it in this way. Okay, cool. Thank you for your patience. And just a little bit more story why we want to share something about this topic. Chinese, I'm already less than half a year, starting from the beginning of the year, the breakout in China, and now the second wave here in Europe. Luckily, we experienced twice. So we see how different, like how people take different action in China and also in Europe. We just think it might be interesting to just share some examples. And also I really want to hear your thoughts on this and what helped you this period of time and to go through and to try to stay like a normal life, basically. Really nice photo from the very beginning of the year. We were on a trip in Budapest and where? And Vienna. Yeah, super nice. But then right after we have this Corona, and now as a person living in Zoom, and you can tell us not really that energetic currently. So yeah, apparently we are in the special type of war. It's not the Third World War, but it's even more scary and more difficult time. I just want to show you two pictures here. The left one is basically in China now, everywhere you go and they checking your temperature, and with this like thermometer, it looks like, again, like this funny, like looks like instead of the gun in the real war, and we also have this similar thing like now fighting against corona. And the right side is, yeah, the people work on the front line and try to saving people's life. Everyone in this war can be a victim, like can get hurt. Yeah, each individual of us is yeah, can be in danger. So it's it's the whole world we're fighting together. It's never been like this. I feel like the whole world is doing quarantine, and you can like really empathize each other. Like I feel people are more friendly, even like when I walk on the street. It's just people like start smiling to each other. I think like just you feel so related to each other. This really cute illustration created by Yating. It just at the starting of this presentation, we want to talk basically this three group of people as any individual, and you play a role in this society and can be any of them. First, I want to start from frontline people and see what we can do there. Basically, testing is one of the main activity they do, and also it's a main approach to really can flatten the curve. I just want to show a graphic here on the right side is from Korea, and how they really flatten the curve within just really a few days. Apparently, it's a super powerful like way to try to stop this whole situation. Since it's important, a lot of startups are trying to create like a home testing kit, which allows people at home to just get a sample of their blood and to like put in a special device and get the result whether they are affected or they have antibody. Like similar like 23andMe, like the gene test. Like this home kit really make it super accessible for everyone to get tested. But in the meantime, it's so important to have like accurate like result of this. Otherwise, like if you tell people you are safe and you have antibody and you can go out and play, but in the end, if they get affected, and they might put them in danger, or like they might lose their life. So super important, the accuracy level as well. Is sometimes like technology can help, but really we have to reach a certain level of security. Another one, after the testing, it's important to do the monitoring and tracking. Sorry about the screen is in Chinese. I just want to show a really nice example here. In China, we have all these websites either in WeChat or other like Alipay, like all this, the flight or the train you took, and whether there's a person on the train or flight got affected, and simply you are informed and you can go to have a test and to try to be like safe to get tested early. On the right side, we basically implement this QR code in 200 cities in a very short of time to it's like a pass. It's like different level of quarantine. If you have the red one, and you can only stay home, and the yellow one, maybe you can walk around in your residential area or your own city. But only when you have the green one, you are free to go anywhere you want. So in within this each QR code, you are like you have to do 14 days, like if it's normal, and you move to next level. So like using this way, and people kind of categorize them, like how big is the area they can move around. So well, in China, like we always have this strict measurements, like this approaches, I think this is a really good way we can keep this virus like in certain area and try to not affect other cities. I think also US is trying to do, especially the Google and the Apple. Currently, this two big giant, they are collaborating to trying to release a system level tracking. So in the future, like it will basically your phone has, I think it's based on Bluetooth, and to identify whether there is a person that get affected around you. So but it's purely like anonymous, and also I think they based on a distributed network, so it's make sure the data is safe in that way to make sure you are aware of whether you are close to any person who get affected. It also make me feel like this coronavirus maybe gonna coexist with us for maybe a long period of time. Yeah, we'll see what we can do to stop it. So with all this testing, monitoring, tracking, and in the end, we have like all sorts, like different formats of data visualization. Here, just one of the example I find is really interactive. You can also visit this website and try to play with it. You just drag the handle to see how fast it break, like it get affected all over the world. It's basically we can use all the data to analyze like certain area, and like also it's a way to measure whether the approach we took is effective or not. Yeah, that's basically what I want to say about this. Another side is developing vaccines, and I think maybe most of you have watched the TED Talk by Bill Gates about this coronavirus, and there's even some like conspiracy saying like Bill Gates invented this coronavirus to prove he's right. And basically 2 points he made in this talk. One is testing, the other one is developing vaccines. That's the way like we can fight, like we can really win this war. Here is also nice to see Google's DeepMind is empowering, like using AI to empowering help scientists to understand the coronavirus better. Like usually they will they do this type of thing, but they won't release or to make this open source until they finish. But here it's really crucial time. I think it's a time we should collaborate together. So yeah, they just make it open source and empowering the data scientists can analyze the corona virus better. So basically, this is what some interesting things I saw in the front line, and going forward, Yating gonna introduce something else about supporters and ordinary people. I think there you might find you're more related. I think, yeah, you might be some of the cute figure in this illustration. Yeah. Thank you. How can I stop? Okay, stop present. Thank you.
Yeah, great talk. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Now it's the whole screen, right? Can you see it now? It might take some time.
Yeah, good. We can see it.
Yeah, we can see the slides.
So thanks a lot for Xuemei to introduce about the fight in the front line using various approaches, including testing, including monitoring, and researches in the medical industry. So how about people in ordinary life like us? So actually, we are also supporting the fight against the pandemic, even we are just staying at home. So because isolation is another main approach to control the virus from spreading. So we might, during this pandemic, we might experience 3 different phases of reactions. At the beginning, we might be freaked out and facing this new virus. And later on, we begin to calm down and start to have a new normal life. And some of us might be more active and more supportive. They develop their abilities to fight against the virus. So I will provide some examples of each phase based on our experiences and observations. And we can discuss about how tech might make an influence in each phase. So at the beginning, you can see from the pictures that we were so freaked out that we could not help but hoarded tons of paper, toilet papers, and other groceries like a hamster. And compared to EU's, like Asians like us might also get to prepare enough face masks. Meanwhile, we could not sleep during day and night, but checking news from different medias, we actually experienced this kind of informatic period when we were so overwhelmed by COVID-related information. And some of them might be useful and keep you updated, but many of them, they are like lots of fake news and can cause panic to you. But later on, you started to, there is a voice rise from your heart that maybe it's time that you should calm down and pick up the pieces and get back to a new normal of your life. So that's the time that you started to work from home. So there are many softwares that we see working up during this period of time. Like for example, Zoom, as we mentioned, it witnessed an increase of users from 10 million to 200 million in just 3 months. But of course, they are dealing with some security issues. And hopefully it could actively solve these issues. And as IT workers, I was thinking that actually the productivity of working in office and at home does not matter that much. As we can see, there are so many software solutions for tech industry in different roles, such as like us, like designers, and also for programmers, for managers. So will remote work be a trend? Even when the pandemic died out, there was a survey about it, about the productivity of working from home and working in the office. It shows that the average of the core working time are similar, both about 5.5 hours per day. But actually, we spend more time to stay with ourselves, and we spend less time on commute. But actually, we have more focused time for our core work, but less time for communication. So will this be a trend? I think it really depends on the type of work and as well as personalities, because for introverts, they might think that it's good time for some me time, and they are pretty productive and they are pretty effective by staying with themselves. And but for some extroverts, they really want to recover their energy by spending more time with their friends and family. So how about learning online? So many of us think that it's a good time actually for us to be focused and pick up some skills that we want to learn for a long time. For example, I saw many yoga studios, they began to offer some online yoga courses and we can follow it. And many of my friends, they started to learn drawing, learn playing piano, and maybe learn a new language. So this is a good phase that we come down and learn and reflect on ourselves. Actually, in the market, there are lots of softwares like Udemy, like Coursera, and I want to share that last time I also joined an event named they used Hopin. That it was very interesting that they have different kind of rooms like reception room, like stage room, and you can enter to different rooms for different explorations and chat with new people. So actually, in the markets, there are lots of interesting and exciting softwares to explore. So besides work and learn, how about shopping? How about e-commerce online? Actually, we see that many of the softwares are rising up, but some of the softwares are dying down. Softwares like Netflix and UGC content applications like TikTok, they are in this explosion phase because we spend more time at home and to watch series and to browse short videos for fun. And also here we see some healthcare applications are rising up fast because we find it might be dangerous to go out to clinics and hospitals. So we might prefer to consult a doctor online. But on the other hand, the travel and mobility related companies like Uber and Airbnb are suffering from a big slowdown in this period. Actually, that some of us are more active. They not just care about themselves, their own lives. They also care about others. There is one example I know in Wuhan, like in the late January and early February. In Wuhan, there was this complete lockdown all of a sudden. And there are many volunteers trying to offer their helping hand. So you see this photo is the volunteer trying to contact health workers for their commutes because there are no public transportation during that time. So who provided this software to the volunteers and health workers? It is this app named the 神州租车. It's like a car riding app. They just developed this feature in a short time that provides this service to help the society. So I think this could be a good example that inspires us to use tech to make a difference. Because, but the important thing is that we should see the user needs keenly and the response very fast. And some of us, they are programmers, they might be designers, and they are joining some hackathons actively. They want to contribute their abilities and skills using their creative minds. For example, in this hackathon, there was a Berlin-based startup won the first prize, over 1,000 ideas. This is the so-named Suncrafter. It's a solar-powered hand disinfection station that uses ultraviolet light to inactivate bacteria and virus. But speaking more closely, as EIT digital alumni, actually we are also supporting actively by joining online communities and also online conferences. We stay connected and we inspire each other. This is also a good way to fight and to stay active. So with all the actions taken so far, we could see that some of the countries in the pandemic are getting controlled, but we have to face that we might live with COVID-19 for a really long time before some effective vaccine and the cure coming out. So as IT workers and world citizens, we should ask ourselves what actions should we take next? I think this is a question that lived for you and for us as well. So, yeah, later on we can discuss because here I mainly talk about positive sides during the pandemic. I want to know, of course, about your stories. Anything positive happens in your life because of this pandemic? I think later on we can discuss about it. And So far, thank you and stay safe.
Thanks a lot for May and Yat for your presentation. Please, May.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to add one quote from Bill Gates in the talk. The world is not ready, so I hope next time it's not like this. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. It's a presentation filled of much info and inspiration. So I saw there are some questions already. And Paul, would you like to unmute yourself to ask a question first?
Yes. So I was wondering what we see during this lockdown is we see that there are local restrictions or country restrictions. And we see that this is kind of generating maybe a unfairness. And even sometimes we see it for people happening, which is even worse, I think. So what are your thoughts on this when looking at the pandemic?
Sorry, if I understand correctly, you're talking about the people restrictions and city restrictions?
Yes, so now we see that there are countries who have more severe or less severe restrictions to give themselves an economical benefit, right? Or a more health benefit. And we also see that cities, like for example, Berlin has a more severe restriction than other cities in Germany to be able to handle the load. So I was wondering, how do you think on this kind of measurements?
I think from my side, Yating can to share your thoughts. I think for me, it's just it is like it is. It just truth is a fact. We have to accept to trade our freedom with our life. Like we live in a busy city and we have no choice. Like, if we don't do this, and we see how it can be, like how bad it can be. Like looking at US, look at New York and what's happening there. I mean, I feel like it's basically no choice. I know recently since Germany is doing really well and people start doing demonstration about they want going out basically. But in the meantime, I mean, like we should really see the other side and nobody can foresee what's going to happen. But your life is your life and you're responsible for your life. But nowadays, I think you should also consider other people's life.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I think that's a good question, and it also really depends on the countries. Like in the, I think Germany is doing a quite good job. It balanced quite well on the like the freedom that we want to have and also the lives we want to save. Because as long as the hospitals are not crowded with people, they still have room to accept new patients. We can slowly open it up, but it really should be a balance and a slowly step. We cannot open it up too fast, and we might encounter a new wave of pandemic if we did that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It's a really country is different. Currently, I heard China. My friend told me like China is trying to keep the number of cases down to 0. It's not like I think here they are trying to make it in a controllable number and then let people like give people more freedom, but which is really different story in China. Like keep it at 0. I think it's take a long time.
Like there are two extremes. Like in China is one extreme, in US is the other extreme. I think in China is really trying to control the virus totally and kill all the virus totally. And in US, I think they don't care about economics more than lives, like in my impression. But but Germany is more like stay in the middle, care about both sides.
See. And another question from Ashish about the QR code as a person's infection identity. And and also there's an audience question from Zhe Yi says, yes, the QR code is automatically updated So it's updated in real time. So by the measurement. So how does it work? Could you explain briefly?
As far as I know, sorry. Yeah, you can go.
You can go.
As far as I know, you can apply it, and when you apply it, there will be a long questionnaire, and you to answer the question whether you have been in contact with people from the other area, whether there's like any of your relatives recently come from other city, other country, and whether you have normal temperature during the last few days. And of course, you can lie, and they won't like sit next to you and to check everything is correct. But also, I feel like in the meantime, people, especially afraid to lie to the government about whether there's any person from the other city, because all the location tracking, I think they will figure it out. So this part, maybe they won't lie, but in terms of your own condition, health condition, that I'm not sure. So after you finish the long questionnaire, and they will generate a QR code, and this QR code will get updated every 14 days. So after 14 days, it's not valid anymore, and then you need to generate a new one, like do the same thing. And also for basically the whole time, how the QR code, how it works, it basically based on your self-check. Every day you need to report, if you are in the danger zone and you have fever, and you have to report every day, 3 times a day, your temperature through the WeChat group. Like in China, we have something called, I don't know how to say it in English, like every residential area, there is a special committee will take responsibility of all the people in this area. So they will, like, they might have like a WeChat group to monitor all the people in this residential area. Like in that case, it's like distributed the small government in each area and make sure everything is everything is organized. Yeah, I think that's the information I got, how they make it work.
Yeah, and there's something I want to compliment. So actually, I think Germany was also thinking about developing a tracking app, but later on they gave up because of some security reasons. Because in China, this kind of QR code, actually they track, you will lose some of your privacy because they will track your location and other information. Like I can give an example. Maybe you go out with a green code and you get on a bus in one day, but later on there was one person diagnosed with the coronavirus in the same bus. Then your code will become orange or red because they can track your location and they notice that you were in the same bus with a patient. Then in that case, you will get
quarantined.
You cannot go out in that case if you have orange or red code. And if you go everywhere, they will check the code as like an ID card for you.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about the situation in China, how China handled the coronavirus situation. And if we take our eyesight to Europe, so are you guys or your companies are doing any coronavirus related projects? Is a question by Craig.
Project.
Yes, relating to corona at your company or as your own personal hobby projects.
Yeah. Yeah, my company, yes, we do. We actually our company have a like social impact group is always doing this kind of thing and try to give back to the society, I would say. So in this period of time, we also help all the like a big hackathon happened in Germany a few weeks ago, and it's huge, like thousands people, like many people joined, and we support the ideas and came out from the hackathon. Basically, we do kind of consultant work and also help the idea owner to develop the product. We also helped some tracking app to design their product. A lot of people, I think, I don't know, like 30, 40 people in our company are involved currently, like full-time in this type of projects. In the meantime, also because we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the company, and they also take their own initiative, and they're trying to help the small business in Berlin, because a lot of shops and bars, and they close and shut down, and restaurants as well. So they're trying to build a website and to find out the way to help this small business to continue, and how we can maybe help them to promote, and help them to do takeaway, and yeah, try to figure out a way how to keep this business still going on. I think, yeah, a lot of these kind of similar ideas and pops up, and it's really nice to see how I think we have the advantages that we work in this industry. Like, it's really nice to see how people can take this and really help people to survive. I think technology is definitely the silver lining of this, like during this time. Yeah, we're doing quite a few things.
Yeah, like what you said, I also feel many people around myself is very doing what they can, like by the adaptation in their lifestyle, staying at home as much as possible, and also utilizing their own professional skills, doing some small projects, just to provide with some relevant service in this special period of time. And another relevant question from Jose Carlo is, what are the main similarities and differences you have seen on China versus Europe, EU, in terms of how people reacted during different stages of pandemic? That's a very big question.
Really good question.
A big question, and I think that's also a good question. I think the responsive, like the fight against the coronavirus, the approaches are the same as we mentioned in the speak. Mainly we in the front line, we should test more, we should monitor, should track, and also we should do isolation. I think that's the main approaches that every country are trying to do. But different countries, they might focus on different approaches. For example, in Korea and also Korea, they did a quite good job, but actually they didn't isolate. They didn't do a lot about isolation. People still have the freedom to go out, to go shopping, to go to school and go to work, but they did a really good job on testing. They test in a really massive of people, so they can track the sources and control it. But I think in China, in Wuhan, is a like extreme case that we need to isolate people in an extreme case, and also we need to test people in an extreme case, because the outbreak was so drastically. But in other cities in China, people are more focusing on isolation, because people like they think it's fine that they stay at home, especially in the period of Lunar New Year. It's the time that they stay with their family. So when the government say that it's better to stay at home, so they are just happily stay at home and find some ways to have fun at home. But I feel that in Europe, it's more difficult for people to isolate, to stay at homes, because I think in EU people are more likely to go out, and especially in this summer, almost summertime, that it's hard to control yourself to go out and enjoy the sunshine. So so in that case, then the society should invest more time on testing and tracking. Yep.
Sorry, do we still have time?
Yeah, you can go ahead, I think.
I think it's a very big question. I just want to maybe from some small examples. I think a similarity, definitely, we're all human beings. I think our reaction, like first reaction, you just freak out. Like you just don't know what's going on. I think still it's difficult for me to understand what's really going on at the moment. Like the other day, I like, because here we can still go out. Every time I go out, I feel like, oh, like suddenly I feel I'm alive again. Like just staying at home for such a long time, I don't feel time flies, and just simply like you feel lost. Like you think a lot, and you have so much time at home, you think a lot. I think same in China. In the beginning, people are freak out and they check the news every day, and they are experiencing this like infodemic. And here as well, like I think in the beginning you check phone maybe every 3 minutes, and you check the number every 3 minutes, and see like it's just crazy. But when it reach a number, like now I maybe 3 or 4 days I check the number. Okay, just a number, and it just you feel maybe I don't numb, or I don't know what's the feeling now. I think that part is similar for like Chinese and Europeans. Like differences, I see a lot of differences basically, which is influenced by the structure of the society, or like how the society works. Like in China, if you have a family, you have a kids at home, usually have the older generation look after the kids. But here, I think it's really difficult time for parents at home. Like people say kids and the coronavirus, and in the meantime, it's just a disaster. Like also a lot of people say, okay, it's a time I will never regret. I haven't got children yet. It's just a different family structure. Maybe like it's difficult for them to work in the meantime, also look after all the kids. In China, like they have the older generation to look after the kids, but also we have all the online education resources or channel is already in place. Actually, the kids they're still doing some like a learning activity, but versus here, I think online education still a new thing, like still need to be developed. In a way, it just make the life for parents a bit difficult. I see that's one part, and another difference maybe is how quickly the tech can respond to the situation. Like in China, all these online services, online delivery, and all the food delivery, or the taxi app, like Yating mentioned, they just simply can be developed within 1 week, and will launch like ready to use. Yeah, I like a lot of things will reflect during the time. I mean, yeah, it just on the top of my mind, and this is.
See, that's quite a lot of information today, and it's a heavy topic. Of course, we cannot articulate it completely just in this 1 hour time. So because of time limit, we have to go to our last part of today's Afterwork session. So I have a few questions to all of you presenters, May, Yating, and Vincent. It's some general questions, and also from our audience, you're very welcome to ask questions to all of our presenters. So let me take the opportunity to start first. We've been just from your presentations, I'm very inspired and encouraged. So we're using your professional skills and also a social responsibility to make the small world around us a little bit better, and little by little, day by day. And just a question to all of you: what's some top aspects in your mind that you care about the most? Some top social aspects and you've been working on.
Social aspect.
Yeah.
Social aspect.
So sure. So just from your personal experience, what are the social aspects you care about the most and you've been working on? Could be big, or could be small, could be far or near.
I think for my part, maybe the one to make good food accessible to most of people. actually, I joined an association. Also, actually, in my first year of bachelor degree, when the idea was to make good food accessible to people in the east of Paris, and yeah, I think that's probably the most probably the project I care the most about.
And I assume you can see the feedback from the people from east of Paris because they are the people you are familiar with and you are very inspired by providing some help to them.
Yeah, definitely. If I can actually spotlight this project, because it was it's called Ernest. Hello, Ernest.
Yeah.
And so they just collect some tips from a lot of different meals from partner restaurants, and with all that money we collect it into one single let's say a big envelope that we can deliver to local food association. But then we started to develop some other projects like event for collecting money, and with that money have some already good meal or good boxes of organic food and local food to be delivered to also to people in the east of Paris.
Yeah, it's kind of a concept similar to a helpful hand to our neighborhood. I like it. What about May and Yating?
I think for me is after have been working in this industry for almost 4 years, I really want to think about how I can use my skill to help the society and to maybe teach other people. Recently started teaching a refugees group, like a volunteer teaching program. Teach some like basic web design stuff for especially women. I think empowering, like try to coach people, try to teach people. Also, especially the women group. I'm also really interested in the women leadership part. I'm discovering, like trying to exploring some opportunity there, and want to leverage more my ability, my knowledge in this area. If anyone is interested in the women leadership in general, and feel free to reach out me, and happy to have a discussion.
Yeah, me. I'll join. Okay, then from my side, I think since actually I'm now in Kurzarbeit. If you are in Germany, you will know that it's like a shortened amount of working time, that the government trying to help the companies to maintain their employees. So now I have more time that I can have the freedom to explore some new projects. Now I'm thinking about like if I can have the skills to develop some softwares, because now I'm actually using the Udemy to learn Flutter, this new programming language, as I mentioned. So yeah, it's time to explore something new and learn something new.
Meanwhile, if any of you have any question, please write in the chat, and I'll continue with my last question. So as all of you three are from the human-computer interaction track, and I know you have skills in both design and engineering, how are you enhance your skills from both aspects? And how are these skills, how are the skills from these two aspects complementing each other?
Can I say I already give up the other skill?
Good work.
I don't know. I can start. I call myself product designer currently. I'm trying to not only stay in the experience design part, but also try to think about how the strategic part work more close together with product management to figure out how we can map out all the user insights to the feature level. So I guess I am trying to take the experience design part further, but in terms of the engineering side, actually I see now a lot of tools just enable us to maybe as long as you can understand some basic code and you can already do a lot in terms of web design and like web flow, like building website, you can make really pretty landing page. And as I see myself maybe to the engineering part is more just make it like I can understand the basics. So it make easy for me to communicate with engineers, but not necessarily I want to go that deep. But one particular area like data analysis is something I'm interested. So I'm trying to learn some basic the SQL or SQL, some people, to try to analyze the data and also help me to get help me to do like more quantitative research. Yeah, it's for me to get better idea how I should develop my product. Yeah.
Yep. And from my experience, I always believe that design is first about logic, then about aesthetics. So when designing some products or some services, I think the first thing you need to figure out is the logics, the workflow, how it works, and understand the technology behind, and figure out the logics that how users should use it. Then then the next step is to improve its beauty, improve its aesthetics. So I think you can improve these two aspects in different ways. For the logics, you can try to communicate more with engineers, and you can learn some basic programming skills yourself by going to some online courses, learn it yourself. And by the aesthetics level, like recently I started to draw something, and by understanding the colors, understanding the shapes better, you will have a better master of what was its beauty. And also that's a more general question. If you go to exhibitions more, if you watch more good movies, I think that's more about artist level. But I think both ways would help you to become a better product designer.
Yep. What about Vincent? I just saw you send a link in the chat. Is a restaurant or?
Yes, actually that's the link of the association. Hello, Ernest. I just wanted to give a bit of light on that project.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, on how we can use that here for design. I mean, for me, how I see design, I think that's just a way to create a bridge between a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different stakeholders. And so I think that being in contact with and know all these stakeholders and the language is kind of a way to be able to communicate with them easily. So that's why I think, like, yes, through knowing technology, how it works behind, that's quite important, and that helps a lot. But I guess also being aware and being maybe also engaged in some social project, in a way that's a way to know better human and also to experience it from another perspective.
Yeah. I like the point of design is the kind of the hub connecting different disciplines and stakeholders.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna stop the video recording, and if you like to stay or ask any question, feel free.